Hey everyone, welcome to Make Money Count. Today we're going to be talking about a report that Deloitte did on the Canadian market and CUSMA. And maybe Marcus can tell us what he would do if he was in charge of the country.
Which is not an easy task.
No, definitely not.
So let's start with this Deloitte and Touche report.
Okay.
We can pull up the cover of it and send you the link to it.
Yep.
But it was a really good in-depth report. And it details what Deloitte believes will happen with the Canadian economy for the remainder of 2025 and 2026. Now, anytime you're making an estimation as to what's going to happen with any economy for an extended period of time like that, you've got to take in a whole bunch of assumptions.
Right.
So generally speaking, I think that Canadians, economists, anyone that's monitoring the market have a really good grasp on what is impacting the economy right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
The tariff uncertainty, the risk of inflation, and the deteriorating labor market, consumer confidence, and lack of business spending as a result of the tariff uncertainty.
Tariffs, yeah.
So, listen, I think that the Deloitte report was great. And when I read it, the one thing it highlighted to me was that it's everyone is relying upon the current CUSMA framework to predict how the Canadian economy will fare. And I think that, so I started reading about CUSMA, and CUSMA is, so we have, CUSMA's not up for renegotiation in July of 2026. Like many of the articles that you would read kind of would lead you to believe that CUSMA is, Donald Trump's going to blow it up and, we're not going to have this trade agreement between Canada, the US, and Mexico to shelter our goods from tariffs. And as such, at the whim of Donald Trump's trade representatives, we could be subjected to significantly higher tariffs across the board.
Right.
So we know currently that the position of the US administration is to bring more jobs into the United States.
Right.
And that is completely at odds with what, as a Canadian, you would want for your economy, right? We're going to lose auto sector jobs, steel jobs, aluminum jobs. And then there's the issue of the supply chain management for the dairy industry, which honestly, I think we've already given up on.
Don't we have enough cows in Canada? I don't understand.
No, the issue is that we protect the cows in Canada. We protect,
right. Yeah,
like Canada has
like the softwood lumber thing, right?
Yeah, Canada has probably the only cheese billionaire in the world, right? Like the Saputo family.
Are
billionaires.
They make good mozzarella.
Well, because you can't get mozzarella from the United States,
right?
And that's why the things are more expensive, right? It's this continued Canadian approach to like an oligopoly or a monopoly held by a Canadian with lobbying power as opposed to a free market economy. And that's something that, the US administration, Donald Trump, is picking on.
Right.
But if we need to sacrifice one Canadian cheese billionaire in exchange for saving hundreds of thousands of jobs and the Canadian economy, I think we got to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
But what I'm trying to arrive at is like our first renegotiation period on CUSMA with the United States and Mexico is scheduled to take place in like end of June, beginning of July of 2026. And we're beginning now the preliminary talks for that negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we cannot agree to move forward, the goal is from one of these meetings, one of these conferences or mandatory negotiation periods that will take place every kind of July 1st from 2026 all the way to 2035.
Mm-hmm.
If we do not reach an agreement to continue CUSMA expires 2036.
Right.
And if we do reach the agreement states that CUSMA would be extended for 16 years from the date that the agreement is reached. So just to think about it, imagine you have a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Your mortgage is up for renewal in 2036.
In 9 years, yeah.
In 2036.
Yeah.
But you have an opportunity to meet with the lender every single year to negotiate extending your mortgage from the date of that renegotiation, like a blend and extend,
Yeah.
every single year. And you can do that for 16 years.
Right.
The problem is, if we're going to kind of continue to draw the parallel for a mortgage,
Yeah.
is that right now, the underwriter that you're dealing with at the bank for your mortgage wants you to pay 20%, and the rate on your contract is 2%.
Right.
I mean, if you want to use it in tariff parlance, 25%. And yeah, like I think our effective Canadian-wide tariff rate right now is sub 3%. I think it gets referenced in that Deloitte report. So, I mean, okay, so there's other complications that come into this, but do you want to slow play your discussions now with the United States, understanding that perhaps it can only get worse if you lock into if you try to attempt to renegotiate CUSMA now for 16 years and extend it, we still have 9 years of runway.
It does seem pretty silly.
Right.
And why don't we just wait for a new underwriter? You know what I mean?
Right. Then the problem becomes is the underwriter that's there right now in the United States, he wants to stay past 2028.
Right. He wants to be the underwriter forever.
So I think, and listen, you know, I'm quite calm. Like Mark Carney's a smart guy. The people around him are very smart. And they're aware of this. And I think that's why we've kind of stalled out on our negotiations with the United States right now. Like we're no longer kind of jumping whenever they ask for something. I mean, we are capitulating on a whole bunch of fronts, right? Like we removed our tariffs. But again, when we removed our tariffs, that was mentioned in the Bank of Canada report, which gave the Bank of Canada ammunition to reduce the overnight rate in September. I just think that the Deloitte report assumes that we receive trade certainty from the United States in the summer of 2026. And I don't think that assumption is as probable as it may seem.
Right.
And I fear that there is far more downside risk to the Canadian economy than upside risk, as mentioned in that Deloitte report. I think it's a bit irresponsible to take that trade certainty with the United States as certainty in any economic prediction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the number of factors that we have pushing against the Canadian economy right now, all resulting from this trade uncertainty, right? Like trade uncertainty means businesses are not investing. It means consumers are not spending. It means people are not getting jobs. It means consumer confidence is eroding. And all of those factors relating to that trade uncertainty, coupled with the fact that Canada has been grossly mismanaged because we had an underwriter before that
approved everything.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like even on our side, like Canada itself was behaving irresponsibly.
Right.
Right. We let in a whole bunch of immigration that ended up being a significant drag and will continue to be a significant drag on our economy. Right. It was like a short-term hit to growth where we saw growth pop, but now it's going to result in lower per capita productivity as GDP totally stagnates, and we still have the population that, you know, per capita GDP stagnates. So like, you know, the solution now, Mark Carney's trying to introduce a program to invest in Canada to make Canada more productive, which needs to happen, but that does not happen at the drop of a hat, right?
Yeah.
So all of this is to say that if you look at bond yields,
Yeah.
which I love to do,
Yeah.
and you look at the probability of a rate cut in October, which kind of sits at like 50%, depending on what day you look at it. I don't know whether it's 50 or 60 or 65 or 48, but I believe that maybe not necessarily for October, because I don't know if we're going to have enough data points coming out before October, but save for some improbable CUSMA agreement that solidifies our trading relationship with the United States, which I believe is improbable. The Canadian economy will perform worse than is generally expected, and as such will require more monetary stimulus than is generally accepted. And as such, bond yields are overpriced right now because we will see more rate cuts than what the market is expecting. I don't know if you remember this, but at the beginning of the year, we were calling for a 225 overnight rate.
395 prime rate, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
which would result in a 435. We're at 4.7 right now, right?
4.7, yeah.
Yeah, so it would result in a 445. So we're still 50 basis points off. If we got another 25 basis points, we're still 50 basis points off of where we expected, where I expected we would be at the end of this calendar year. Those 50 basis points are for sure coming. And it's not fully priced in yet because you're seeing reports like the Deloitte report and you're seeing this. It's almost like groupthink amongst economists and political pundits that there's a certainty that our trade relationship's going to get shored up because conventional wisdom tells you that governments get together and they come to these decisions. But I think we need to get rid of this reliance on what happened in the past.
I mean, we're not dealing with someone normal right now, right? So,
to predict what's going to happen in the future. We can't right now because we know that the president of the United States is still out for the jugular.
Yeah.
So this is just to say that, like, I continue to be a proponent of the variable rate mortgage, especially over this interim period. For the least of which reason, it's like you get a few wins right now at a time when like there's no wins for people. And I think that, you know, if we don't see a rate cut in October, then you're going to see 50 basis points faster, maybe before the end of the year, but definitely at the beginning of 2026. And that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to say, you know, I'm worried about the CUSMA. I'm worried if we go in and the other thing you have to realize is like the Canadian Prime Minister has to gauge the barometer of the Canadian people. So if the Canadian people are like, let's just get a deal done, I don't care, then it may rush us into a bad deal.
Right.
I think that he's smart enough to understand that we can't do a bad deal because it'll hurt us for longer in the future. I also think that a lot of these trade missions around the world, like, you know, Indonesia, Mexico, the UK, that part of me believes that this is all theater also. Right. Because like we're so dependent on the United States. A trade mission to Indonesia isn't going to do anything. Right. I mean, a trade mission to China and India probably would, and it looks like we're repairing relationships with India. It's just so funny that we're in this period of time right now where like the Canadian economy is just like hanging on by a thread and it's being decimated by these tariffs. The reason is like it was already in trouble before the tariffs. Right. Anyways, variable rate mortgage.
Variable rate mortgage. You heard it here first. Don't subscribe, and we'll see you next week.